So we're going to cover this topic, and it's actually, if we could have planned the best place for it, it's actually a summation of much of what's been discussed, but taking a different look at it. What oftentimes happens when we're going to innovate, innovation creates an environment for success, but also failures, pitfalls, and potholes. The four things we're going to cover is some innovation catalysts. And again, it will echo much of what you've already heard today. We're going to look at some historical bad examples. We're going to look at current and future trends, and then some principles. Innovation catalysts. I actually had a chemistry lab in my own bedroom. That was probably me, minus the red hair. As we've heard, low grades on infrastructure scoring across the nation, Texas included. That's a stressor. We also have global and local challenges, just like the panel we just heard, equity challenges, climate change resilience, all things we've heard today, public health, economics, environmental protection, all issues. Infrastructure can help address that, but it's not a guarantee. The other part that we haven't heard a lot about today, we have resource limitations in our nation. We may not think about it. Just read a statistic, the average fracking well, and I'm not picking on fracking. Average fracking well requires 18,000 tons of sand. One of the number one things we consume as Americans is sand and gravel. There are parts of the world where there are sand wars over the quality of sand just for construction. That's something we haven't even contemplated. So we have this collision, or perhaps another way of looking at a recipe for innovation where we have infrastructure challenges, global and local challenges, and also resource limitation challenges. That can create innovation, but innovation, we'll go show you some examples of some innovation. It can create huge opportunities. Great that we innovate. We're an innovative culture, but sometimes innovation speeds up and we miss unintended consequences along the way. Let's look at some examples. Some of the engineers may remember some of these things. Tacoma Narrows Bridge, everybody who had structural engineering learned that. That was actually part of a design competition. It wasn't like, oh, those folks didn't know what they were doing, but they built a bridge that as the wind started getting above 30 miles an hour, it created a resonance frequency, and it just basically shook the bridge apart. It never lasted more than a year after it was opened. So people hadn't even considered that, but it was a combination of the narrow lanes, the geometry of the channel, etc. But they needed to get from one side to the other, but unfortunately the innovation of building that was, they missed something along the way. Times Beach, Missouri, I could have said instead of the problem they're solving, they're trying to solve, this is a community, low-income community, had dirt roads. So in dirt roads, what do? You have to have dust control. One local contractor said, hey, I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to use recycled oil for the dust control. Well, that recycled oil happened to be contaminated with Agent Orange. They spread it out around the whole community of 800 homes. And then once they figured it all out how bad it was contaminated, they had to abandon the whole community. So nobody lives in Times Beach, Missouri now. It's all been cleaned up and now it's a park. But it's, and someone said when they went through there, it was a eerie sense because people, when they found out, they just left everything. Plates on the table, Christmas decorations on the tree, etc. So good idea, you're recycling, but not not enough thought going into it. PFAS, we've heard a little bit about that today. The Teflon is the brand name of that, and it's in a lot of things. It's and give you a sense, because it's easy to pick on other people like, gosh, those structural engineers should have known, that dust control guy should have known. In Austin, I came in here in 2005, and the spills control group was part of my responsibility, overseeing. And they had a fire for a hardware store. They fought the fire in Austin with a lot of water. And in Austin, our aquatic systems, our streams are really sensitive to low dissolved oxygen. So normally on most fires, we'd have a fish kill. And so, because the fire would take out the dissolved oxygen in the water, and then this low DO water, and the fish would suffocate and die. Well, we had a new fire, and I asked the guys, hey, how'd it go? Sweet. And they used this new stuff. It's foam. There's no runoff. And we thought, wow, that's great. There's no low dissolved oxygen. The fish are going to be fine. But we were so enamored with the new solution, we didn't even ask, what's in that foam? It was PFAS. And now we've got PFAS pollution all over our nation because folks like me didn't ask the right questions. Austin, Texas, don't have to look too far. The other solution to be problem to be solved there to innovate, how do you do pavement maintenance? Asphalt pavements crack. Let's put this black stuff on top and seal up those cracks, and the moisture can't get in and degrade it. Somebody say, hey, we got this leftover industrial stuff. Let's spread that on that. That's really cool. And we can make some money. City of Austin was first, this was used over 30 years. City of Austin was the first one to figure out it was high in these toxic products called PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. If you've never heard of them, not surprised, but it's the first time they figured out how to create cancer in a laboratory, they use that. So if you paint that stuff on a rabbit's ears, in 30 days, a bunch of rabbits, 75% of them all have cancer. That's how potent. And was spread all over the parking lots in Austin. So we banned it in 2005. So here's some future issues some of you have already heard about today. AI self-driving. Awesome. Great opportunity, a lot of space for innovation. One of those funny things, I was on a conference call about innovation and AI, and I asked the question, I said, what's the energy consumption of AI? The think tank in Washington didn't have an answer. That's a problem. That's a sign. And then I actually asked ChatGPT, what's the energy consumption of AI? And AI said, ChatGPT said, that's a complicated question, and I don't have an answer for that. But so then Elon Musk last week, love him or hate him, he said, you know what the limitation on AI is going to be? Electrical energy supply. It is going to outrun the capacity of our ability to generate electricity. So that thing we said we did in 2005 in Austin, it's still in 75% of the United States. So FYI, only in Texas, San Antonio, San Marcos, Austin have done something about it. The rest of you are all still up to your eyeballs in that nasty stuff. Urban heat is another innovation we're looking at. You know, whoever solves urban heat island issues is going to make a lot of money. So there's a gold rush, and I'm standing on top of one of those innovative products that actually was, and I took a thermal imaging camera and demonstrated that the new product was actually hotter than the old asphalt. So it was an innovation product that didn't even work. There's also ask the questions about what's in this stuff. Sustainable materials revolution. If you haven't paid attention to what's happening in concrete's changing dramatically. Mixed designs are changing to make it more sustainable. Asphalt's the same way. Opportunity for innovation, opportunities for lots of pitfalls along the way. Because complicated thing, concrete's lasted well for over 100 years. But will your innovative mixed designs meet it? Maybe, maybe not. So here's some principles to think of. to help you avoid those pitfalls and potholes, enchanting ideas are not enough. Just like my example of PFAS, hey, it solved a cool problem. Oops, it created a new one. Think like a chess master. I'm amazed by some people. Hey, it's a great idea. Did you think 3 steps ahead what might happen? Oh no, we just thought it was such a good idea. Know the status quo. Like all those big infrastructure type strategies, do you understand how concrete works? It's super complicated. Do you know why asphalt works the way it does, et cetera, et cetera? So if you don't know that, be careful about messing with it. So beware of blinding solutions. Sometimes you're so excited about what you came up with, you can't even imagine a problem with it. Leverage existing systems. Familiar with all those sort of lead, envision, green roads. Sometime it might be nice to do a presentation to this group about Envision rating system. That'd be awesome. I'd even do that. But all these rating systems, I put an old school GPS up there for a reason, because when GPS first came out, these systems are just like that. If you rely 100% on that old school GPS, you might find yourself in a real problem. In the same way, these systems, I've seen people run projects through this whole system and they missed major issues because they weren't thinking. They thought the system was somehow smarter than they were supposed to be, which isn't. Have a balanced view. We've talked about the balanced scorecard of what sustainability is, environmental, social, economic. So sometimes these innovations, they're great, but they cost too much, or we don't really care about what happens to other people, or what happened. We're so enamored in the instance of AI. I'm fine with technology, but let's put a number to it so we have a sense of, at the same time we want to stop the guy from wood burning pizza ovens. We ought to be paying attention to what AI is consuming. Law of unintended consequences is always present. Just like someone said earlier, a gentleman from Houston Water said, man, we always think about, can I think of everything? Well, maybe you can't, but it's great to have a collaborative team that helps you think about those things. Develop a BS detector, pardon that, but it's near but seriously, if you, just like when I asked the AI specialist, do you know how much energy this consumes? You're a national expert. You ought to know. And or I've asked people other questions. Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they just don't want to say. And it's up to you to sort of sniff that out. Now, since we're talking about football teams, it's the 10th man rule. And then you think, oh my gosh, this poor former Yankee doesn't know it's the 12th man. No, it's actually in Israel, it's the 10th man. 10th man principle is when you allow, it's a principle they have in their government decision making. You allow someone to be a devil's advocate in the room to ask questions. Create a culture where people can ask questions. If you have a yes sir, yes ma'am culture, don't ask any questions, you're going to end up with some bad decisions. So create an environment where people can ask questions. Doesn't mean they don't like you, whatever, but it's the 10th man rule, not the 12th man rule. Pilot first. I can't tell you how many times at the city of Austin in my 19 years there, people got so excited about a new idea, they just said, we're going to do it everywhere because it's so awesome. And then they didn't, well, can we try it a little bit first? No, it's great. Let's just do it everywhere. And then we find out, oops, there's a problem. And then one of the biggest challenges, like someone says, the greatest character trait is courage. Don't be afraid, because sometimes if you are the 10th man or the devil's advocate, or you say, hey, I think even though everybody says that's a wonderful idea, I have some questions, maybe it's not. That's a little bit of fear because you're stepping out against the crowd. What's going to happen? I don't know, but we need people to do that. And that's me. That's a QR code to my LinkedIn page. And now, have a beer.